My loving audience, take my love and subscribes my channel. Was this really just a simple mistake, or is there something much deeper going on here? Honestly, let's be completely real for a second. If you have been following the absolute madness happening in Fairmont Crest lately, you know that nothing ever happens by accident. Every single look, every door that gets slammed, and definitely every single new relationship is like a chess move in this huge, crazy game. But what is happening with Leslie Thomas right now? Well, it has officially taken things to a whole new level. We are not just talking about some quick little rebound or a temporary distraction to get people talking. No, this is a massive shift that is sending shockwaves through her entire family. The latest spoilers have left us all asking one huge, terrifying question. Is Leslie actually finding real happiness, or has she walked directly into a trap designed to completely ruin her? Think about what she has been through over the last few months. We have watched this woman spiral completely out of control. She has been fighting so hard for a seat at the table with the elite Dupree family, but let's be real, they would probably rather burn that table to the ground than let her sit with them. But just when we thought she had hit her absolute limit and was ready to just give up and accept being alone, everything changed. A mysterious new man has literally stepped out of the shadows and is suddenly right by her side. And the way her family is reacting, especially her daughter Eva, tells us everything we need to know. This isn't just a simple new romance. It feels like a ticking time bomb, and we need to talk about it. To really get why this is such a massive deal, we have to look back at the trail of emotional wreckage that brought Leslie to this exact moment. Not too long ago, Leslie was trying so hard to build something real with Marcel. On paper, it looked like they had this intense, super physical connection that could actually last. We saw them sharing those incredibly passionate kisses, and yes, we even saw them end up in bed together. It was the kind of raw chemistry that usually keeps a soap couple together for a long time. But if we really analyze it, that relationship was doomed from the very start. It wasn't built on trust or real connection. It was just a desperate reaction to a huge, empty space in Leslie's heart that she refused to deal with. And then, out of nowhere, she made the sudden decision to officially dump Marcel. It was so abrupt. Why would a woman who is absolutely terrified of being alone reject a guy who was actually willing to stand by her? The answer is simple. It's the shadow of her past. Deep down, in those quiet, painful corners of her mind, Leslie is still completely hung up on Ted Richardson. This is the real tragedy of Leslie Thomas. She is basically a prisoner of her own memories. She is actively throwing away her present because she is still mourning a past that probably never really belonged to her in the first place. When she looked at Marcel, she didn't see him. She just saw a substitute. He was a temporary placeholder who could never live up to the idealized version of her teddy bear. Her daughter, Eva, saw right through the whole thing. In a moment of total, brutal honesty, Eva confronted her mother. She accused her of shutting down every single good romantic option in her life just because she is holding on to this crazy fantasy that Ted is going to come back to her one day. That confrontation was a huge wake-up call, but it really upset Leslie. Instead of doing the hard work to heal from her obsession with Ted, she just gave up. She looked at her failed relationship with Marcel, she looked at how distant Ted is, and she decided she was just destined to be alone forever. She resolved to move forward without depending on anyone else for her happiness. It was a classic defense mechanism. She wanted to protect herself from being rejected again, so she just rejected the whole idea of love first. But right when she accepted that she was going to be alone, everything changed. This mysterious new man suddenly appeared by her side, and it has completely ruined her quiet little plan. It has thrown the whole community of Fairmont Crest into a total panic. If you think about the timing of this guy's arrival, it is highly suspicious. In soaps, timing is everything. This man didn't show up when Leslie was feeling strong and happy. He found her, or maybe she found him, right when she was at her absolute lowest point. She had just broken up with Marcel, she had just been forced to admit her obsession with Ted was ruining her life, and she was basically drowning in loneliness. When you are that emotionally exhausted, your guard is completely down. You aren't looking for a healthy, safe partner. You are just looking for a lifeline. You want someone to tell you that you are worth something, and this new guy is giving her exactly that. He is a massive ego boost for a woman who has been treated like garbage by the high society crowd for so long. But honestly, Leslie letting this stranger into her life so quickly is a giant, incredibly dangerous mistake. She is doing the exact same thing she did with Marcel, but this time, the stakes are way higher. At least we knew who Marcel was. This new guy is a complete mystery. We know absolutely nothing about his past, his connections, or what he is really after. By jumping straight from Marcel to this stranger, Leslie is proving she hasn't learned a single thing. She is still letting her fear of being alone make all her decisions, and that is a recipe for absolute disaster. This is where the dynamic between Leslie and Eva gets so interesting and honestly, kind of heartbreaking. For a long time now, Eva has had to be the mature one in their relationship. That is a massive burden for a daughter to carry. Eva has had to watch her mother chase after Ted, pick fight after fight with the Duprees, and spiral into deep depression. So when Eva saw this new man with her mother, she wasn't happy for her. She was completely shocked, and she immediately got suspicious. Eva isn't looking at this with some romantic fantasy. She is looking at it through the lens of survival. She knows her mother's weaknesses better than anyone else, and she knows this guy showed up way too fast and under circumstances that are just a little too convenient. But Leslie is so emotionally starved right now that she literally cannot hear her daughter's warnings. Think about it this way. When you are starving, you don't check to see if the food is poisoned. You just eat it because you are desperate. Leslie wants so badly to believe that she has finally found a man who genuinely cares about her. She wants someone who sees her value when Ted and everyone else in Fairmont Crest didn't. So when Eva tries to warn her, Leslie doesn't see it as an act of love. She sees it as a betrayal. She thinks Eva is just trying to ruin her chance at being happy. It is a total tragedy of miscommunication, driven by years of trauma and a desperate need for control. So who is this mysterious new man, and what is he really up to? The rumors and spoilers are hinting at some really dark possibilities. They are suggesting that his romantic interest in Leslie might be a total act, a carefully planned lie hiding a very specific agenda. In a wealthy, cutthroat place like Fairmont Crest, people don't just show up for no reason. Is it possible he is targeting Leslie because she is the easiest target? By getting close to her, he gets direct access to her family, her secrets, and ultimately, the incredibly powerful Dupree family. Think about the Duprees. Vernon and Anita are basically the royalty of this gated community. But their family is fractured right now. They are dealing with divorces, secret affairs, and all kinds of internal drama. If someone wanted to tear down the Dupree empire, they wouldn't go after Anita directly. She is too strong. They would look for a weak spot, a soft target they could easily manipulate. And Leslie, with her history of making erratic decisions and her deep anger toward the family, is the absolute perfect entry point. This new man could be using her as a human shield. He could be using her feelings to get close enough to destroy the family's wealth and power. It is a highly calculated, terrifying game. This theory makes so much sense. It takes the story from a basic romance and turns it into a high-stakes psychological thriller. It means we have to watch every single interaction between Leslie and this guy with total skepticism. Every sweet thing he says, every supportive hug, every promise of a new beginning, it all becomes highly suspicious. We are left watching Leslie fall head over heels for a man who might be actively planning her destruction. That is exactly the kind of intense, nerve-wracking drama that keeps us glued to our screens. But we also can't talk about Leslie's new man without talking about Ted Richardson. Even though Ted is trying to move on, the bond between him and Leslie is not something you can just erase. They share a huge, painful history. Most importantly, they are the parents of Eva. The affair they had years ago didn't just change their lives, it shattered the lives of everyone around them. It left behind a trail of pain that their kids are still trying to heal from. When a relationship has that much history, it has this magnetic pull. Ted and Leslie are tied together by blood and secrets, and no matter who they date, that connection is always there, lurking in the background. So how is Ted going to react when he hears about Leslie's new guy? Well, even if a man doesn't want to be with a woman anymore, his ego usually hates seeing her move on with someone else. Especially when it's a mysterious stranger who just appears out of nowhere. Ted's protective instincts, mixed with his own unresolved feelings about their past, could easily push him to interfere. This could set up an absolute explosion of a confrontation between Ted and the new man. It adds this incredibly complex layer to the story. It makes Leslie's new relationship a battle for her very soul, with Ted potentially stepping in as a highly flawed protector. But is he doing it because he actually cares about Leslie, or is he just trying to keep control over his past? The line between love, guilt, ego, and self-preservation in Fairmont Crest is incredibly blurry, and that is what makes this so fascinating to watch. And then there is Anita Dupree. How does she fit into all of this? We know there is massive, long-standing bad blood between Anita and Leslie. They have a conflict that has been simmering for years, and it is ready to boil over into an all-out war. Anita is a woman who prides herself on having absolute control over her family and her community. She has worked incredibly hard to make the Duprees the undisputed rulers of Fairmont Crest, and she does not tolerate anyone who threatens that. If this new man really has a secret agenda against the Dupree family, Anita is going to be the first one to feel the danger. But because she hates Leslie so much, she might just dismiss it at first. She might think it's just another one of Leslie's desperate cries for attention. That could be Anita's biggest mistake. If she lets her hatred blind her to the real threat this guy poses, she might accidentally let a snake right into her house. This could start a chain reaction that completely destroys everything she and Vernon built. It is a fascinating psychological angle to explore. It shows how even the most powerful, intelligent people can be ruined by their own pride. Anita's ego could be the very thing that stops her from seeing the trap until it is too late. The collision course between Anita's pride, Leslie's vulnerability, and this new man's secret motives is going to be an absolute masterpiece of storytelling. Now, let's talk about how this whole situation is going to get a million times worse. Because if there is one rule in soaps, it is that things have to fall apart completely before they can ever get better. The main conflict is already set up. We have Eva's intense, protective worry clashing directly against Leslie's desperate desire to believe she has found real love. This is not a conflict that is going to be solved with a quiet, polite chat over coffee. This is a fight that is going to tear a mother and daughter apart, fracturing their relationship right when they both desperately need support. As Leslie continues to push her daughter away and pull this stranger closer, the tension in Fairmont Crest is going to reach a boiling point. Think about the social dynamics. Leslie is already seen as a volatile outsider. If her new guy starts asking the wrong questions, showing up where he shouldn't, or messing with the Richardson and Dupree families, everyone is going to turn on them. The pressure on Leslie will be huge. She will have to make a choice. Does she stand by the daughter who has been her rock through everything, or does she choose the mysterious man who is promising her a perfect future? We also have to think about the physical and emotional toll this is taking on Eva. She is still recovering from a massive transplant surgery. She is physically weak, emotionally drained, and just trying to get some normalcy back in her life. For her mother to bring a complete stranger into their lives, a man Eva truly believes is a manipulator, is an incredibly unfair burden to put on her. The stress of this constant fighting could easily cause a physical setback for Eva. It could put her recovery in danger, forcing Leslie to face the terrifying reality of what her obsession with this new man is actually costing her daughter. This brings us to a major prediction. Leslie's desperate need for validation is going to push her to make a massive, irreversible commitment to this new guy. We are talking about a sudden elopement or some kind of joint business venture. It is going to completely blindside Eva and the rest of the neighborhood. But this sudden move will be the exact thing that forces the truth out into the open. The Richardson and Dupree families will realize the threat this man poses to their own safety. They will be forced to start a secret investigation into his past, setting up a race against time to figure out who he really is before he can ruin Leslie's life forever. The long-term fallout from this is going to reshape Fairmont Crest for a very long time. If this man is indeed a liar with a dark agenda, his eventual exposure is going to leave Leslie completely destroyed. Imagine the crushing weight of that realization. She will have to face the truth that the man she thought was her savior, the man she chose over her own daughter's warnings, was just using her as a weapon. This will completely shatter her. It will confirm her deepest fear, that she is unlovable, that she is always destined to be discarded, and that her judgment is completely broken. The guilt of knowing she put her daughter's health in danger for a lie will haunt her forever. It could drive her into total isolation, destroying her ability to trust anyone ever again. For Eva, the consequences will be just as bad. If her warnings are ignored and she has to watch her mother fall victim to this guy, it will permanently damage their bond. Eva has spent her whole life trying to protect her mother. This might be the final straw that makes her realize she can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. She might have to make the painful decision to cut her mother off completely, focusing on her own recovery and her relationship with Isaiah, leaving Leslie to deal with the consequences of her choices alone. And what about the rest of Fairmont Crest? If this guy's plan succeeds in exposing the dirty secrets of the Dupree and Richardson families, it could cause a massive shift in power. Secret affairs, financial scandals, and long-hidden lies could all be dragged into the light. It would destroy reputations and careers that took decades to build. The Dupree's status as royalty could be gone forever, leaving them vulnerable to rivals who have been waiting in the shadows. The arrival of this one stranger isn't just a threat to Leslie, it is a threat to the entire social order of their world. To fully understand why Leslie's situation is so dangerous, we have to look at the massive web of chaos surrounding everyone else in Fairmont Crest. Relationships are breaking down at an insane pace right now, creating this highly unstable environment where one tiny spark can cause a massive explosion. Look at Nicole Dupree Richardson and Kial Rollins. On the surface, their decision to exclusive date seems like a great step forward. It looks like Nicole is finally finding some peace after the painful end of her marriage to Ted. But if you look closely at their interactions, the past is still very much alive. Let's not forget how messy this love triangle actually is. Leslie recently put Nicole's love life on blast in front of Carlton, letting him know in the most public, embarrassing way possible that Nicole and Kial were hooking up at the Comfort Inn. She did it as payback because Nicole blindsided her with the news that Ted and Shanice were in love. It was this incredibly petty, angry move, and it proves Leslie is still completely obsessed with Ted. It shows she is bitter, hurting, and lash out at anyone who gets in her way. This is the environment Leslie's new man is stepping into. He is entering a world that is already completely saturated with lies, secrets, and betrayal. Every single character is trying to run from their past, but every step they take just brings them closer to a massive confrontation with the truth. This makes Leslie's vulnerability a million times more dangerous. There is no safety net to catch her when she falls. The entire social structure of Fairmont Crest is a house of cards, and this new guy might be the one who finally knocks it all down. Even the kids are getting dragged into the chaos. Look at Tyrell. He just had this massive blow-up at his dad's, Martin and Smitty, after Martin told him he wasn't going to let him half-ass his way through college. Tyrell's plan has completely backfired, likely because he couldn't convince his girlfriend to stay close to home, and she is heading off to UCLA. The younger generation is dealing with their own heartbreak and pressure, showing that the trauma in this community goes all the way down. And then there is Bill Hamilton, who is busy flirting with disaster from his hospital bed, despite all the warnings to stay away from Danny Dupree. His wife, Haley, is starting fights with Nurse Ashley because she hates seeing Danny and the other Duprees hanging around his room. Everyone is fighting, everyone is keeping secrets, and everyone is hurting. This brings us back to the big questions. What do you think is going to happen next? Do you think this mysterious new man is actually someone Leslie knew years ago, maybe someone from her past who saw she was in trouble and decided to swoop in? Or do you think he is a dangerous stranger who is just using her to get to the Dupree family? And how do you think Ted is going to react when he finally sees them together? Will his ego push him to interfere, or will he actually try to protect her? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's get a massive debate going about where this is all headed. If you love these deep, analytical breakdowns and want to make sure you never miss a single spoiler or update from Fairmont Crest, make sure to hit that like button right now. It really helps support the channel and keeps these videos coming. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you are always the first to know when a new video drops. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video for more high-stakes drama beyond the gates.